when we already have a fruit that is named grape?
Well, Lothar, I don't know if you've noticed this, but English doesn't actually make any sense.
Okay, good to know. But we're jumping into the game.
I can't justify
It
any
actually
of that.
started. There we go. All right, turn 1. It's actually turn 3. I don't know why we didn't get to see it before, but I guess we're gonna jump straight into the game, kind of mid-turn. Turn 3 from Tomas with the Paladin, Murloc Paladin, and for Kolento it's the Priest. I don't think he played anything. Pyromancer was actually played by Kolento so far, from what I see.
Okay, so just challenging the first couple of turns from Tomas, and currently sitting on a secret discover off of a Hydrologist. Kind of a heavy start for Tomas. Obviously, we don't see what he did on turn 1, but turn 2, he definitely hero-powered. So, did not get the ideal curve of the Vile Fin into Rock Pool, into War Leader, blowout start that can absolutely just steal the game from Arzaka's Priest.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I had to do something technical. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought maybe we were kind of...
I like talking to myself.
I thought we were kind of desynced for a second, so I had to refresh the entire stream. But I think it's okay. NA production? No, it's actually EU production, or even Polish production, because I'm sitting at home.
It's actually EU production.
Yeah.
Lol, take that, chat.
It's like EU production in Spain that is being transferred to YouTube, so I can produce that in my home in Poland, and then transfer to Twitch to a German server. So.
But also, I'm in Chicago. Yeah, none of it makes sense. Like the English language.
Grapefruit, man. This is gonna haunt me for a very long time.
Get me started.
Alright, but when it comes to the matchups, the Paladin has a rough start right now. Because it didn't develop anything impactful on the board. And it needs, like, I mean, nothing changed for Murlocs from the beginning of the time, right? If you're playing Murlocs, you need to develop the board as soon as possible, so you benefit from having the synergy, especially with cards like Megazord right now. But this Blessing of Kings was actually insane.
Yeah, it will maybe allow Tomas to get some of his board presence back. It does seem like Kolento's had a really solid start, though. He had the Pyro on 2. He's going to have Kazakus for a 5-mana potion on turn 4. And Tomas's board development going forward is okay, but is it good enough to beat this? It's going to be tough. Hey, Lothar, did our internet die?
No, it's okay. I'm checking right now. I don't have any dropped frames.
Chat's debating the hell out of me.
Jesus Christ, Furious. My
Dang
God.
it, Furious.
Now you know the pain of streamers.
Martinez challenges my statement that Kolento's opening hand was pretty good by saying it was in fact not pretty good. I would challenge that statement by saying no, it was pretty good. And leave it at that.
What would Uther do?
Good question. Uther, take the wheel.
Uther gets it.
Do we know what's the secret? It's a noble sacrifice, right? We see it on the left side on the panel.
Yep.
Yep.
All the way at the bottom.
Which path to choose?
The question is, does Kolento know? Did he ask Tomas, what did you play?
Did he call him from across the stadium and say, hey bud, what is it?
I honestly believe that every single LAN tournament in Hearthstone should have been played with players next to each other, basically, and without any headphones, so they can talk to each other. And we should have like an overhead microphone over them, so we can hear when they talk, and that should be in a booth, so they don't hear anything else. That's my ideal setup for a LAN tournament.
So you don't want them hearing casters, you just want them screwing with each other the entire
I want
time.
to hear them talk with each other. I want to, see the interaction, get that, maybe some rivalries because of that, right? Because when you play other card games, there's trash talk all the time. Like, seriously.
That tournament meta would be way more beneficial for certain players than others, though. That's the thing. Like, really outgoing players, really memey players, I think would have a lot of fun with that. And then players that really value focus and like need to be zeroed in with no sound while they're playing would absolutely struggle. That'd be a really cool tournament format.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that unfortunately can't do in a digital landscape. An example, something that me and Nims were doing when we were playing, real card games in tournaments. I mean, physical card games in tournaments, is that we were taking a lot of space on the board physically just to intimidate your opponent. And you can't really do that in Hearthstone, an example. But you can still use your voice, right? You should be able to do that, to just talk, kind of bluff that way. Would be really awesome.
So Kolento has targeted removal with Shadow Word Pain and Shadow Word Death, AoE removal with Dragonfire Potion, Shadow Reaper Anduin to hit even if there is a Cobalt Scalebane or Bone Mare targets. And Thomas's development is not awesome. Depends on if he can pull anything really valuable from this Curator, but his ability to build up a wide Murloc board and then buff everything with Gentle Megazord, for instance, it's just not really there.
Yeah, it doesn't really look great. The Bone Mare might be the saving grace for him, but at the same time, Shadow Word Death awaits. And the moment that Anduin hits and gets at least one target, yike. Now, that will be horrible for Thomas. So I don't feel like he's going with confidence into this game after seeing how the early game developed. Because now Kolento has all the answers in the world.
Yeah, and we missed exactly what happened on turn 1 for Tomas, but I believe that his turn 1 was probably just pass and the turn 2 hero power. And his opening hand was just kind of clunky. It was not what he needed to really take advantage of the slow development from Priest in the early game. And that's kind of a shame, because Paladin is one of the decks that really can bully the Priest.
Alright, so he needs to get rid of that Prophet, right? There are two options. Either Bone Mare and just trade, or the Rallying Blade, and he can still develop Cobalt Scalebane, an example, this turn. Although the Cobalt Scalebane then trades with something that is already on board, so that's not ideal. But if he pushes, this is kind of like a nice bait by Kolento. Because if he plays at Velen, he knows that most likely he will bait out the Bone Mare. And in this case, the Anduin next turn is just holy crap good, right? Destroys 2 minions, gains a lot of tempo, and in the upcoming turn he can just benefit from having the Smite as his hero power every single turn. There we go. The bait was taken.
This is insane. The Prophet Velen isn't really necessary to win Kolento this game. He's going to win the game by keeping Tomas off the board, and he has the tools now to do it. He's still looking for Raza, but once he gets Raza, this should be pretty locked up.
It was a low quality bait, but Tomas took it.
It was a 6 out of 8 bait. It's aight.
It was a 10 kilobyte JPEG.
Sure.
Alright, but maybe let's get serious. Kern into Rallying Blade seems like a decent option. Other than that, 10-10 seems like a gentle Megazord into double War Leaders. Because
What would Uther do?
it seems like a natural development of this board state for the next 2 turns.
But, I mean, the Cairn and Tyrion pickups have really bolstered the overall quality of this hand for Tomas. what he had before wasn't fantastic. There wasn't a lot of really good synergy between them. He still would rather have, you know, a Vilefin Inquisitor and have that Murloc hero power online, but Tyrion and the Cairn are serious threats.
Huh. Okay. Well, this is interesting because the Murloc is open to a hero power just from Kolento. Or even not that, it just can be, you know, a trade with the Novice Engineer. So why would he do that? What is the thought behind it, right? Because this is less resilient than the Kern. But it snowballs for the upcoming turn, so it requires an immediate answer for the Cobalt Skullbane, but at the same time, it's pretty easy to answer when Kolento has an entire hand of cards and the recurring hero power.
Shadow Reaper Anduin has been already, so if Tomas can bait out Shadow or Death, then maybe Tyrion has a greater likelihood of sticking. And also Dragonfire Potion can't hit this. So there really isn't much that Kolento can straight up clear the Cobalt Scalebane with other than weaving in some hero powers here. So maybe Tomas is just trying to push Kolento onto a rather awkward turn, but any value that Kolento can get from his hero power, he's pretty much fine with.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, chat is telling me that we were hearing cats. I thought that I was hearing things.
Oh, that's right.
But no, apparently
My
it's
cat
cats.
is very talkative. He's actually learning Polish, so
Gotcha.
he's trying to, you know, to train,
Oh,
to practice.
multilingual cat.
Yep.
My cat just speaks English and sleeps all day.
The one speaks Polish, the other one speaks
Barely
German,
speaks
and
English
they
at that.
cannot really talk to each other, you know?
Oh, poor cats. Their cat communication is difficult, for sure. Alright, so finding the adaptations on both of these war leaders here. Living Spores is really resilient. Flaming Claws is very regressive, or very aggressive. But both of these Murlocs were played this turn, so there's no guarantee that you actually get any value out of the added attack. So I'm thinking Living Spores is probably the way to go,
And those are
even though you've already played
those are
Serum.
really horrible adapts, by the way.
Yeah. Actually, unable to be targeted by hero powers and spells would have been really good. Or plus health, or divine shield.
And it doesn't really change
There were
much
a lot of
for
really,
Dragonfire
really good
Potion, though, right?
options.
Plus 3 HP would probably have been the best.
That or divine shield.
No, yeah, Divine Shield too. Yeah, you're correct. Udor is actually going to really low HP. 16. So as soon as Kolento just gets Razan, this ends immediately. So by playing Dragonfire Potion this turn, he's able to push for 4 damage. He's setting up Udor for 12. Then 4 minions are being spawned by the Death Rattle effect, which is not that big of a problem since they don't have any synergy. It's just 4 damage. And he will still have 2 mana left to develop, an example, the Novice Engineer.
So Tomas gets to keep 4 1/1s around, but you're absolutely right. He's getting very low on health to the point where Kolento can just weave in even the 2 mana hero powers and probably finish the game up in 3 turns. It does not look like Tomas has the pressure that he needs to close out this game in 3 turns.
Which path to choose?
I honestly still think about the turn of the Cobalt. Because if his point...
Yeah, you would have liked to see something
If
else.
his like play was to actually bait out the Shadow of Death, then he should have committed to Tyrion instead of the War Eaters, right? But he did commit to War Eaters
Yeah.
instead, so I don't see the point of playing the Kern the turn before, because if you would have Kern on the board, we can still play Tyrion on the upcoming turn instead of the Wall Eaters, an example. Still have pressure and have a weapon.
Yeah, if Tyrion soaks up the death, then at least you have the Ashbringer. You can start pushing.
That's the problem with the Shadow Word Death, that doesn't really give you anything in return, right? For Kolento, that was pure tempo gain, because he spent 3 mana for a 5 mana minion, while Tomas lost a 5 mana minion to a 3 mana spell and didn't benefit from the bait. Anyway, that's in the past, because Tomas is getting finished by the amount of damage. There's the Mind Blast. I'm not sure if he has enough mana to play this turn, but he should have. Does he? No, 2 mana left, so 1-0. Unlucky. But still, like, what are the chances of Paladin actually killing him from 24 HP next turn?
And that's going to be a 0% chance, Lothar. Kolento going to wrap up game number 1. Tomas, maybe some different decisions that he could have made in there, some different sequencing, but I don't know that he would have won this one anyway. Kolento had the Kazakus on 4, he had the Shadow Reaper Anduin on...
Was... God damn it.
Did we?
I do believe so. Or maybe I'm just thinking about Trinity series, actually.
You see a lot of crazy stuff in Trinity series.
Alright, let's jump to the second game. Thomas is sticking... what I'm talking about. He's switching to his own Priest, which is a more dragon version than what we usually see, while Kolento is gonna play this Jade Druid with a Wild Growth already in hand and a Maya Keeper. So he has the mana ramp that usually you need to thrive as a Druid.
Is someone injured?
So, Jade Druid is traditionally thought to be really good against Rizaka's Priest, which is what you would usually expect to queue Jade Druid into. But against this Priest from Tomas, it's a completely different story. This Priest is significantly better. If you can get down a Radiant Elemental early on, buff with Talon Priest, Druid's removal is just so poor. And then the follow-up from the mid-range dragons means that Tomas likely is going to be able to stick something. And once he does, he's got the Divine Spirit Inner Fire to follow up.
Yep. That is correct. With the Divine Fire and Inner Fire, that he can just play at some point when he sees that his minions are safe. It means that it will put a huge roadblock for Kolento. Every single minion that has high HP will be a pain in the back for Kolento to remove, since the only way he can do that will be by doing damage. So with trading minions or using swipe, rafts, and so on. And how can you do that when someone has like 14 HP? Oh, look at that. Divine Spirit from the Shadow Vision already.
Nice hit.
Woo! That's crazy.
The Twilight Drakes aren't going to be crazy high health because Tomas has had a decent curve up until now, but still enough to put out a significant amount of pressure, and with the Divine Spirit Inner Fire, Tomas is already representing a lot of damage.
So, what is his option next turn? The Creeper can get damage to 4 HP, can heal it to 6 and put it back to 12. And draw a card at the same time. Well, that's pretty decent, I would say.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Both of these starts from these players have been really good. And I was saying at the beginning, Tomas is likely favored in this matchup. It's likely why he brought this deck, to give him better chances against this type of Druid and against the Rizaka's Priest from Kolento. The Kolento start's been pretty gross. I mean, this is what you need to fight against this type of Priest.
Oh, is it...
Cheat your mana curve really fast.
Is it a thing for Hearthstone players to actually put their name as a nickname? Like, you know, Thijs, Radu, Thomas, Reinhard actually as well, because it's Andre. Just an anagram.
Andre backwards. Maybe sometimes. I don't think it's like super common, but
I'm
yeah,
sure I could
sometimes.
I could find also other examples, but I can't think of anything else right now.
I mean, my tag is technically Songbird, but everybody just calls me Cora. It's just how I introduce myself. It's what I call myself.
And then you have Brian Kibler.
Yeah, he's just Gibbler, and Frodan is just Dan. I don't know. We weren't all very creative when we were creating our battle tags. Not like Lothar.
Well, my nickname is actually a name as well, so I'm not the best example. But it's not my name, but it is a name.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
But it sucks anyway. I kind of regret.
Stan Sivka is just Stanislav Sivka.
What is in bloom?
Would you go back and change yours if you could?
But that would mean I would have to go back 20 years and change it then. Because I picked it when I was like 12.
I'd rather not relive all that time. Yeah. Alright, both of these players just kind of going through the motions. Pretty straightforward turn for Tomas. You got a 4-mana dragon, play your 4-mana dragon.
I love how people are saying that Malfurion is not one of the most powerful Death Knights, when it gives something that Druid was always lacking. Which is a way of perma-killing something, insta-killing something with the poisonous, right? Like, Druid doesn't have a way of killing something that has high HP, so in this case, the Malfurion is a saving grace. It's one turn delayed, because of the fact that the minions don't have charge, but it is an option to actually kill a huge minion with those small spiders. And then the hero power is actually as powerful, almost as powerful as the Warlock's hero power. So it's pretty neat. Look at that. The silence is being drawn out to one of the spiders. Just because of the poisonous.
I think the value of poisonous spiders was really, really downplayed in the beginning. People just didn't... I don't know, maybe they didn't realize it? I mean, there's an entire card that costs 5 mana that just gives you these 2 spiders on the board.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? Then you have a 2 mana more expensive card that also gives you an entire character. Honestly, in this matchup, if Kolento doesn't do exactly what he just did, this will spiral out of control pretty fast. Because now he has the upper hand of dictating the tempo. So if anything big gonna get played on the board, he has access to an imminent threat that can just trade with the minion that was played with the Divine Spirit.
It is really, really difficult for Kolento to actually get ahead in this matchup, and he's done it. It just speaks to how good his opening curve was. It was fantastic.
Well, as I said, he has an option to dictate the tempo, but unfortunately, 10 damage is not enough.
So close. He can just play Spreading Plague for 1/1/5.
Fantastic. But when you think about it,
But now things are getting pretty
you
scary.
can actually just ignore it and play Maya Keeper, go wide, build up 3 HP, deal 10 damage. There's a small chance his opponent will kill him next turn, because that would include a buff on the HP and a second copy of Inner Fire.
My turn is not.
I think it's very unlikely that Tomas has that in hand, and Kolento probably has that read as well, so he's just gonna tank 12 damage here. He can heal up for 3 armor every turn going forward, and there is no burst in Tomas's deck. All of the damage comes in the form of minion combat, of the combo pieces with minions on the board. So now Tomas is going to have to start over. start building back that board. And Kolento, likely by the time Tomas is able to stick something, will be able to armor up enough or develop his own board enough to keep Tomas off the board. That's his plan,
And the
at least.
problem is that Thomas actually has the mid-range that will be allowing him to overextend, right? The Historian itself is an amazing card in this matchup, because usually it gets you exactly this. 3 really good minions. I would say that the Draconid Operative is the best option here, but Bookworm and Onyxia have their own merits as well.
Onyxia is pretty sweet. It's very weak to swipe, so maybe that's a method as to why you wouldn't take it, but additional resources are always good. So Draconid Operative it's an easy choice.
Kolento needs an ultimate infestation.
It's unusual that he hasn't gotten it yet. But, the Fandrel's okay. You can go Fandrel, Mire Keeper, Hero Power. Deal 3, gain 3. It's like you're playing Siphon Life. Sort of.
Yeah, a little bit.
Still nowhere near as good.
And Thomas actually plays around the mind control tech this turn by accident a little bit because he didn't have much more mana, but we're gonna see if he actually commits to more minions next turn. That is some really deep knowledge from Malfurion right now.
Oh, he's wise AF. His turn is not infinite.
It's kind of interesting that the characters are breaking the fourth wall, right? Because they know they're part of a game. Too deep? Okay.
Just deep enough. I'm sorry, I'm just contemplating. I'm also typing because they told me not to type, so naturally I must go against everything that Twitch chat wants from me.
Uh-huh, I see.
Would we be doing our jobs if we didn't?
Exactly. So, 1 HP for Kolento without UI, without anything impactful.
It's kind of a breath of fresh air, even though the matches are taking a little bit longer. In this one in particular, at least it's something different.
Alright. Now we're gonna go into the next match. Sorry for not changing to the mulligan fast enough, but here we go. Woo! I had to switch my mouse. I have 2 mouses and 2 keyboards.
You have... Oh, for the dual PC setup?
It's a little bit confusing
Gotcha.
when you're not used to it yet. So sometimes I'm just watching like one monitor and I'm moving my mouse and I'm wondering why is my, brain delayed to the mouse movement? But then I realize I'm holding the wrong mouse.
Alright, so Kolento on the Zoo Warlock, Tomas on the Big Druid. Big Druid's gonna ramp. Zoo Warlock's going to develop on the board quickly, try to swarm, try to essentially kill the Big Druid before they can get to their own big stuff. If the Big Druid is able to get to turn 8 with a relatively safe life total, then they've got Primordial Drake, they've got Lich King, as well as 2 copies of Earthen Scales, which can help them stabilize relatively quickly. So it's going to come down to whether or not Kolento can put on enough pressure early on, and does Tomas get the ramp that he needs.
Pretty good summary. Now we're gonna see if he will actually able to execute this plan. At Kolento's...
Alright, missed turn 2s.
Yeah. But a 2-2 patches makes a difference.
Yeah. The difference between those missed turn 2s is Kolento gets to draw an additional card when he misses a turn. But the Mire Keeper's certainly going to help. Get to that Nourish 1 turn earlier. Make good use of the coin. And then we're rolling right into Primordial Drake on turn 8. This is a lot of damage for Kolento, though. Like, Tomas has to take this turn to Nourish for ramp. Goes to 22 with the hero power, and then has Spreading Plague or Primordial Drake next turn. But he's going to take at least 12 damage here.
Well, he doesn't have any other option, right? That's the problem.
No, I mean, he has to do it.
But Spreading Plague next turn will buy him. Yeah,
buy
exactly. He will have means to buy his time with the Spreading Plague next turn. So if he gets to draw a Mark of the Lotus, that will actually make a huge difference. Do you like the attack into the imp, actually?
I mean,
It kind of sets up like a swipe,
kind of telegraphs.
right?
Yeah, it telegraphs swipe over Primordial Drake. So Tomas may be baiting Kolento into playing additional Flame Imps, or one or two health minions, something that gets eaten up by the Primordial Drake, but I think it's rather inconsequential either way. Where did that giant Kappa come from?
I don't know, what are you talking about?
And where is he going?
Alright, well, he's facing a serious problem right now. He can play the Spreading Plague,
Yes,
which will buy him 25 HP, but no Mark of the Lotus will not put any serious damage on those minions for the follow-up with the Primordial Drake.
And the Despicable Dreadlord on the board means that the captains will both trade into Scarabs, and the Flame Imp and the Malchazar's Imp as well will end up with a kill on a Scarab. So that leaves just one left over. Dreadlord doing work here. And Kolento likely going to be able to set up for a Bone Mare going into turn 7. But Tomas does have Kroon Ultimate Infestation on turn 10. He's still one turn away, but Primordial Drake should be able to get him there. He's looking pretty low, though. He's sitting at just 9 health. And his hero powers into the Malchazar's Imp have finally paid off. It took 3, but he does clear it off the board.
So now let's say Kolento attacks with his captains, puts 2 minions on 1 HP, so the Despicable Dreadlord will kill at least 3. The Acrous Veteran will actually put another one down that path. So 1 will be left for the upcoming turn. And that will be allowing Tomas to trade with one of the captains to set up a Primordial Drake. But it's still not good enough.
No, I don't think it is. Especially with the Darkshire Councilman and the Flappy Bird development over the Acrous Veteran to get the clean clear. Kolento doesn't care if there's an extra 1/4 on the board. He now has an extra 3/3 that is far, far more threatening. And he just needs to keep something up. He knows that he can close this game out next turn, unless there's, another Spreading Plague, for instance, then he'll just be slowed down a little bit more. But it really just is a matter of time. Unless Tomas has, Doomsayer behind a Spreading Plague, he needs some way to clear the board, not just to stall.
Well, the second Spreading Plague definitely helps. But if he plays Primordial Drake this turn, let's count it. He goes with both of those Spreading Plague right now to, an example, Despicable Dreadlord. No, it's better to go to the 2 captains. Then he's able to kill the captain and the Flame Imp. That leaves 4, 6, 9 damage on the board with the potential upside on the Councilman. So the Councilman alone can actually kill a Primordial Drake with an example, a Bone Mirror. So that's pretty terrible.
And then, yeah, and then Kolento would have the Dreadlord and the Flappy Bird left over. If Flappy Bird hits Wind Fury, that would have been lethal. So Tomas is just going to take one more turn here, go for that Spreading Plague, and try to set up the kill on the despicable Dreadlord with the Primordial Drake, along with the captains. This actually makes perfect sense because the captains will likely trade in. Kolento's going to go for the kills, and then the Drake comes out, clears off the Dreadlord, the Flame Imp, both of the captains that have gone in. And if the Flappy Bird decides to trade in, then that will be cleared as well. This may actually be enough. Spreading Plague is just so stupidly powerful.
Obnoxious. Like, really.
Yeah, I'm not its biggest fan. I'm pretty open about that. I hate Spreading Plague.
The one time they changed something I did hate about Druid, so Innervate. Now we got this.
Mm-hmm. Is there a reasonable mana cost for this card? Like, is there ever a mana cost where this card's suddenly not good?
I don't believe so. Just the mechanic itself just makes the card really powerful.
Chat speculating that I only play aggro decks.
Who doesn't?
Not living that smart life, boys.
Alright, Kolento playing a bit around the Primordial Drake that was a little bit telegraphed by Tomas, so he doesn't get completely wrecked by attacking with the Flappy Bird, an example, to one of those annoying small taunts. Nobody would play it if it was 11 mana? I don't know, man. Druids have an Innervate.
I take it into Wild and I play Emperor. Game. Easy.
What was the name that they gave in China to Spreading Plague and the Ultimate Infestation? Spreading Shame and... No, Spreading Shameless and Ultimate Shame.
Oh my gosh. Spreading Shameless and Ultimate Shame. You hear that? Turn 10. Ultimate Shame. Don't do it. Not even once, chat. Is this enough? Bone Mare and Flappy Bird go in. Yeah, this is.
Well, he can play Veteran on the Captain.
The Captain
yes.
and Soulfire to get through the Drake.
Exactly. Then you have a potential attack with Bone Mare and Flappy Bird into the...
Do you just... Oh, you just have lethal, right? Bone Mare and Flappy Bird go in, the Captain, Acros, Veteran, and Soulfire go in, and then Flame Imp plus Firefly plus Flame Elemental is 11?
Should be enough.
Because you're playing 4 minions? Yeah, this should be guaranteed.
Good play.
Yay, they got it. Thank goodness I did. Yeah, that was close.
It was getting slightly out of hand of Kolento, right?
Yeah.
It was super...
Primordial Drake that hopefully sticks around was really intelligent for the Druid to deal with. So, Kolento's just got a standard Jade Druid. No Primordial Drakes in the deck. He will have Spreading Plague, so there is a decent amount of stall. But ignore all that, because Tomas is going for his Druid build first. And I believe he does actually have a big Druid, so it's not a mirror. It is actually likely just favored for him then.
Alright.
Tomas will... They're going to be ramping at the same time, but while Kolento has to play Jades and ramp those as well, Tomas just needs to ramp mana, and then he gets to drop a large threat right away. So Tomas will have the first big development, and from there, in an ideal world, he just keeps dropping bombs, wins the game.
So I thought it's on my end that the stream paused, but then I see Kolento moving, so it's actually not on me. Okay.
He is a little bit stoic, but I think we're okay. Well, Tomas is going to want to find something to do before turn 4.
Hero power.
Whereas Kolento's start is gas. So good.
Wild Growth, Jade Blossom into Maya Keeper.
This is
Coin out Wild Growth turn 1 seems pretty reasonable. My god. This ramp is crazy.
Yeah. Coin Growth, Blossom, Mire Keeper, Jade Spirit, anything else, Ultimate Infestation. This is nasty.
What happened? Are we? I'm seriously thinking that we're stuck, but we're not. Okay.
No, I think we're good. Just taking his time, trying to decide, does Kolento want to use the coin here? It fills out the curve perfectly fine, so you can absolutely coin Growth into Blossom and not worry about anything. But you still want to take your time a little bit.
Okay, so he'll be at 5 mana next turn. That will allow him to play My Keeper to be at 6 mana. After that, 7 mana with another My Keeper, so he will be able to play Ultimate Infestation on turn 5?
Yeah. And the Innervate for Tomas actually was a huge pickup as well. Allows him to cheat out the Mire Keeper and get to the Nourish on curve. So Nourish will bring him right to 8, and then he can drop that Medivh. If he finds Ultimate Infestation as well, again, he's just going to have the larger minions faster than Kolento, just based on the nature of his deck. So this isn't over. It's just that Kolento's start was just about picture perfect.
But still, the Nourish can kind of keep up. The problem is he just needs to find the Ultimate Infestation, because that's what he needs after the Medivh, as you mentioned, right? Otherwise, he cannot just consolidate the play with his Medivh and the weapon. Spreading Plague is not bad. It's still a 6-drop alongside, most likely in this situation, maybe 2 or 3 minions from the Spreading Plague. But he still needs something more impactful.
Yeah, that's the issue, right? Medivh is a really small threat on its own. It's when you've got the follow-up that it actually becomes incredibly impactful, but if you're just playing an 8-drop, you'd much rather have Lich King. So we'll have to see. The next couple of draws for Tomas really could impact exactly how this goes.
Nourish into mana into... I would say keep the Wrath for more impactful minion than a 3/3 that doesn't... The damage that doesn't really stack right now, right? So if he's gonna manage to keep the Wrath after Medivh, an example, when he's not finding yet the UI, you might actually think about just cycling it after playing the Medivh. Or the other option would be to cycle the Wrath right now to have wider picture of what he's gonna do in the upcoming turns.
Yeah, I agree with holding the Wrath. I think he's definitely going to want to cycle, but looks like he is opting to do it after. You don't really want a 2-drop from the Wrath, but as long as you do get that 10-drop off of Ultimate Infestation, the other 2 charges from Atiash don't really matter. Kind of don't want to risk Doomsayer, but it's a very small chance. Any development is worth it. Kolento does have Mire Keeper this turn. He goes to 9 mana next turn, so it's still going to be just shy of actually playing Ultimate Infestation. But he will be there very shortly. It's just that his turn 8 is looking a little bit weak.
Alright. Still 2 turns to get that UI. So this is actually not looking that terrible for Tomas if he manages to do that. Otherwise, he will have to play the Spreading Plague even for low value, just to get a 6-drop out of it. Because he needs firepower on the board. Well, you can't really play Malfurion.
Spreading Plague gets you a 6-drop.
And you can't even play Malfurion because then your hero power is basically just armor up. Because if you use your hero power for attack, you will use the durability of the weapon.
Ancient Harbinger. Holy crap, that's insane!
Wait, does he?
At the start of his turn, he's gonna draw a 10-drop.
Yeah, and that's cool.
That's absurd. Or Yashiraj.
Holy moly.
It's so sick. Okay, yeah, it's a relatively low-value Spreading Plague, but the 6-drop just off of the Atiash was going to be worth it. This, however, that's freaking awesome.
This is the first time I actually will see it in action, apart from arenas.
Yeah, I drafted Ancient Harbinger in Arena in a rogue deck the other day with a Deathwing Dragon Lord. I got the Deathwing first, and then I drafted the Harbinger to try to get it. I think I got it one time. It's really, really inconsistent. It's very hard to keep around because it does activate at the beginning of the turn. But this is awesome.
Somehow.
This is exactly what Tomas needed. He needed to find his resources, and he's gonna find them now.
Somehow, the Spreading Plague got better.
Damn it.
How is that even possible?
Yeah, ATS is cool. There's some really interesting interactions, even in the most mundane of matchups. But yeah, this is one that I have not actually seen before.
Alright, let's see what will be drawn from the Harbinger. There's the Kun, which is insane in this situation because he can benefit from having the Malfurion this turn as well. Or just go for a Spreading Plague with another 6-drop.
6 mana, 6-drop, and 1/5. I think he would have rather had Yashiraj, but it's likely that Ancient Harbinger will be able to activate again next turn, and he will then get a Yashiraj or either of the Deathwings. A lot of options, actually. There's quite a few 10-drops
honestly
in the deck.
say that it's worth to trade your free minions into the Ghoul, and then...
Just to get fresh ones from the Plague?
Maybe not. Nah, probably not worth it. I'm just still trying to figure out the best way to get value from the weapon before you crack it with the hero power from Malfurion.
Yeah, of course. Alright, gonna go for the 1/5s. Try and protect the Ancient Harbinger and the Coon. Oh, never mind, he goes for spiders. Okay. Yeah, this is better anyway. This way you just challenge everything that Kolento puts out next turn. If Kolento Spreading Plagues, both of these spiders trade over. Swipe doesn't kill them outright. You know Kolento's not playing Primordial Drake. And this is when Kolento really wants to start developing his own threats to challenge the Coon and the Harbinger from Tomas. The Jades still aren't that big, but regardless of how big they are, the spiders will neutralize at least 2 of them.
What?
Does kind of make Mind Control tech a little bit better, but it's still not
What
great.
is even funnier is the fact that the Harbinger will bring another minion right now.
Yeah, it will. It's just gonna keep netting Tomas so much value. And it's really awkward that the Big Druid is even in this position to need to land Ancient Harbinger off of Spreading Plague from Atiash to get the big minions, because the density of big minions in the deck is so high. But, Tomas found himself in that situation, and he found a way out.
And here we go, Ishar.
Yay!
It's still awkward.
I think Yashiraj is actually one of my favorite cards.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why.
I mean, the problem with the Shard is the fact that
It's
you
really
can
fun.
just get it on turn 4 onto the board. That's the problem with the card, right? Otherwise, it will be fine.
Oh, I don't think that's a problem.
I see. You're that type of
Nah,
person.
it's a fun card. I've had a lot of shenanigans with this card. I don't know. He's a good time.
All right, let's see what the Shard brings to the table. And that is a My Keeper. Still,
Ooh,
I would
that's
say
not good.
he cannot say he's unlucky. The Harbinger alone just turned the tables. Kolento was winning this game, clearly. And the moment the Harbinger hit the table, everything changed.
Everything changed when the Harbinger attacked.
This is like the beacon for big monsters, right? The Harbinger.
Yeah, aren't they like they essentially like prophesize, like a harbinger of doom? Oh, I'll Google it.
I'm guessing that's like a creature from a World of Warcraft raid, where it's like just before a boss,
Kappa.
right?
Yeah, a harbinger is a person or thing that signals or announces the approach of another, or a forerunner of something. So they signal the approach of the big bad, which is the 10-drop in this case. But it does not necessarily have a negative connotation.
This is ridiculous. You just got a now Nourish spread into 3 turns for 0 mana investment alongside a 4/6 minion.
I mean, still, Kolento has a lot of resources left. The Jades are finally starting to grow to the point where they can challenge what Tomas plays. So Tomas is going to need to do work with the board that he has. And it's not great. He's really wishing he'd found the Lich King or gotten the Ultimate Infestation onto the Altiesh, because, I don't know, his threats just aren't actually looking all that threatening to me.
Death is eternal. My turn is not.
Alright, enough of the Kappa.
Never enough of the Kappa.
He's gonna return at some point.
But then again, you don't want to overwhelm the chat.
Exactly. So, the momentum is switching, and what is even funnier is the fact that Tomas will net another card, if I'm not mistaken, because he still has another Deathwing in his deck to be brought by
Yep.
his Harbinger.
He's got the more useless in most scenarios Deathwing. But in this scenario, pretty good.
It is pretty decent, yes. It's kind of sick when you think about it, because he just decreased the size of his deck by 4 cards. It's not even about drawing the cards.
And he still hasn't found Ultimate Infestation.
Yeah, I mean, now he doesn't have to,
Drawn
right?
4 extra cards.
Now he has so much gas, the ultimate infestation is just not needed at all.
I think he'd still like to have it. I mean, his hand is good. Don't get me wrong. He's in a much better spot than he could have been. Like, he would have already just lost this game had he not gotten the Yashiraj and the Kun to actually represent any form of a threat on the board. But I don't think he's out of the woods just yet. I don't think he's going to have the liberty to play this Deathwing for quite a while. And his board is just, it's challenged on board by those 2 Scarabs. Although there's Deathwing Dragonlord, so, you know, now things are a little bit different. Free 12/12, free 4/8. That might be good enough to get him there.
Depends if it can be killed or will just be ignored, right? Because judging by the way Kolento might play it, he might just go for taunt minions and pressure Tomas behind the lines to deal the necessary damage to put him on a death threat. But the problem is, every single big minion that Tomas is gonna get played, at some point will push through those taunts. So Kolento needs to be faster than Tomas in that case. So he needs Jade Idols, he needs another Jade Spirit to play alongside the Spreading Plague or play alongside Jade Behemoth. There's the Jade Spirit. So we can play Behemoth and Jade Spirit the same turn, put huge amount of threats and just put the damage into Tomas's face. And this might be good enough to finish up the game, but the Spreading Plague from Tomas might just slow it down enough for him to take advantage of his Deathwing already on board.
Yeah, the Deathwing trades into the Behemoth after Spreading Plague comes down, obviously. And then 3 of the golems go directly into the Scarabs. 1 of them dies. And then it's left with, at the very least, 1 Scarab on the board, depending on how Kolento wants to use his hero power. Then that means Primordial Drake is going to be more effective. The Deathwing Dragonlord will get 2 trades on the board, and 2 really valuable trades at that. Damn, I hate Spreading Plague.
My thoughts are plagued.
Like, Kolento with that Nourish will likely have enough reload. But you're absolutely right. He needs to find the Jade Idols. He needs to find... Ideally, he'd have Fandral to combo with those Jade Idols, because he needs to play and shuffle, because he's running out of threats.
It's kind of a funny thing to say. Another Jade Golem available for Kolento that can be squeezed the same turn as the Behemoth. Super important. Because now the Jades are actually almost as big as the threats that Tomas can play.
Yeah, except there are infinite Jades, and Tomas does not have infinite threats. The way that Tomas would have won this game is to develop his threats first, but he missed Ultimate Infestation even though he had Medivh down early, and that is really what it came down to. He had the Atiash, he had a chance to take advantage of the Atiash, but he didn't find that 10-drop generation. Even the Ancient Harbinger wasn't enough to give Tomas enough threats to outpace the Jade Golems. You can't beat the big grain men, Lothar. They're too big.
Well, they don't have to be infinite, right? Well, it's kind of funny. Everyone kind of complains about the fact that they're being infinite, but you rarely see them being infinite. What you usually see
it actually rarely comes down to that now.
It's just all about the tempo gain, because they're so mana efficient, right? They start up slow, but then suddenly you have a 1 mana 7/7, and that's kind of OP. That's the problem when you face the Jades, right? You have to keep up with their mana burst, basically, because they suddenly a 1 turn can be a swing of putting 20 stats on board, right? Whoops.
So does this destroy minions and then discard hand? Okay. I was wondering if it would destroy the Deathwing Dragonlord and then pull out the Primordial Drake and then discard the hand, but Deathwing says, nah, screw that, I'm gonna discard the hand first.
It doesn't say which happens first. Isn't the same sentence. I think Tomas was thinking about that because he made like this nervous expression.
If he could have gotten the 4/8 taunt on board, that would have been really fantastic. But, you learn something new every day. Guess that's not how it works.
Now the problem is, his opponent is not in a lethal range, so he will need to use the Deathwing as a means to trade. But the Jades are just so big, they actually almost just kill Deathwing on sight.
This is too much. I mean, Tomas still has Ultimate Infestation, but he's also just... Oh, hey, Ultimate Infestation.
A little bit too late.
Yeah, okay. Yep, that's, Well, can he survive? If Deathwing goes into the 10/10, UI you can UI the 9/9. So then the 5/5 trades. You go up to 16. Kolento has 9, 10, 11, 12, 16 with swipe. Nope, Tomas is dead.
And he has no innovate left for a for elephant scales, right? No.
No. Yeah, this I don't know. We'd have to go back and really analyze whether or not that Deathwing was necessary.
Probably not.
Or if he could have saved it for... I don't think it was.
I think the Primordial Drake was better, but I cannot really, for the love of the game, I cannot really recall what was exactly the board state when that was the turn, because it was a lot of minions.